Shout out to everybody here. My name's Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer. It's been a wild ride in trading, no matter what you're trading. I don't care if it's Forex, the NASDAQ, S&P, oil. It's been crazy. We're going to break it down. Every Friday, I do a macro technical analysis where I go over Bitcoin, the S&P, the NASDAQ, oil, gold, even more. Let's have some fun. Even look at the cryptocurrencies, the smaller ones, the total market cap. Let's look at some dominance, Tether, DXY, and more. First thing I'm going to start off with is Bitcoin. Let's take a look at what's happening to BTC. Shout out to all the people watching. Thank you for being here. I also do a live stream every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. If you want to check it out, that's Eastern Daylight Savings Time right now, New York City time. So I do this live, and I trade live. We have a blast. It's awesome. I can't wait to see you in there actually looking at my live trade right now. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the macro for Bitcoin and kind of whittle our way down. This is so you don't get caught up on the small time frames, and you see what's kind of happening each week, every Friday here on the channel. So the first thing is this could be possibly making a bit of a falling wedge. However, for that to happen, this needs to wick back up and close strong. Like, we can't get a deep candle here. And what's stressing that is the weekly. Closing below the 200 moving average on the weekly is very bearish. And I see this kind of as a shoulder ahead and a bit of a right shoulder. That's a pretty deep measured move if it does take a dump, somewhere down to about 41,000. And when you lose the weekly 200 moving average, you usually head to the 2-week. And, we might come as this, usually what happens is this will move up as the price actually moves down. But like it says, you might meet somewhere around here in the $40,000 to $45,000 range, somewhere maybe even right there. 49K. I could see 49K being an area of contention that we end up to. So to me, I'm seeing some bearishness for Bitcoin. It looks like it wants to go to the downside. What could stop that? Right now, we're watching the daily candle. I'd like to see if the daily can put in a green candle right now, and I'll show you why. So yeah, all the last head and shoulders we've had like this have played out. Even the daily just made a head and shoulder here, shoulder, head, right shoulder. I gave that head short to everybody in the money. You would have made money on that short. All the way with that wick down to 50. I think it went 58,000. So right now we're at the kind of bottom of this falling wedge. But we have swing down, but a very sharp swing up. Another thing is the RSI is extremely, extremely oversold. Like, it's in this shaded region. That's some of the most oversold I've ever seen it. Last time it was that oversold was a long time ago. We could look like it's like we have to go all the way back here to 2023. So about 3 years ago, the daily looked this bad, and now it's making a higher low. This tells me there's a chance we could long right here with a stop below these wicks, and it ends up being some type of bottom. Very strong bullish divergence. However, the bigger time frames don't look good. Like, I keep seeing this shoulder, head, right shoulder. Tonight, you want to see this close green. You got to get a daily to close above this point of control. Somehow we get an inverted head and shoulder here and we get out. If we get rejected here and slump over, it's likely to continue lower. Maybe it makes like shoulder, shoulder, head. It's a complex head and shoulder on the daily, which will still look like a head and shoulder on like the 5-day. So I'm leaning bearish. But the bullish divergence has me peaked. The shaded RSI has me saying, hey, can this daily candle close green? Is it worth? It's kind of almost worth it to take a shot to front run. You know what I mean? Because, it's high risk, but high reward if you do catch the bottom. So that's my lookout right now on the daily. This could be a head and shoulder pattern. It is actually. And that measured move takes you down to the 2-week 200 moving average. This could be somewhere between 45 and 49K when it's all said and done. So it looks bearish. The only way this is going to happen if Bitcoin can reverse, at the very least, close the candle above 61,500. It's 437, but 61.5 would give it a nice place. So that's Bitcoin in a bit of a nutshell. You look at the total market cap and all of cryptocurrency. So this is in the same spot. And again, in other bear markets, like if you look at the last bear market here, we came all the way back down to the 786 fib. And if you did the same thing here from the beginning of this impulse to this here, you can see the 786 would put us somewhere at about 148 trillion. That's like 3940K. And it would make sense we would have this retrace. So what has to happen is the weekly has to close with a wick and kind of stay inside this pattern. That's the first order of business. And then that daily candle, even on total, let's take a look at it, has to close green and has to respect this bullish divergence. Otherwise, it's rolling over. You see what I'm saying? When you look at the moving averages, just to kind of take a look at where they're at, You want to see where that 21-day moving average is, the 20 or the 21 on any time frame, and you can see we are a little bit below it, which means we could pump back to it, start to make some an inverted head and shoulders. So what we're looking for is a daily inverted head and shoulder here. You see something like this. The MACD to go sideways a little bit, us to curve. It's, very oversold in the stochastics after being down there. Very shaded RSI. It tells me that something has to brew here. We have to have some type of reversal. After basically, we began dumping in the 13th of May. If you think about it, we had a little bit of a relief rally, but that was it. So this is going to follow whatever Bitcoin does. It is what it is. We take a look at Tether dominance. I want to see what's happening. This shows you how much money is flowing in and out of Tether. Okay. And we went over this last week, and we could say Tether dominance looks bullish here. It looks like it's going to break out of the flag here. And that started to kind of tell us that Bitcoin was likely going to dump. And so far, that's exactly what happened. Like Tether dominance was signaling that we had to be really careful for Bitcoin. That Bitcoin was structurally, probably going to get a sell-off because people were going to run into Tether pretty hard. You look at the weekly now, and it's starting to get a little far away. There's some bear divergence on the weekly. Swing up while swing down. And so what I'd like to see is this makes a head and shoulder pattern. Same for Bitcoin. So this would be Bitcoin's bearish div. So we want to see this start to slump down, retest, and then come back down here. Bearish div on the weekly does suggest we could get it, just like we have bullish div on Bitcoin. But if this starts to get tight and doesn't make, there's still a chance we could see some more. So I'm not totally sold on Bitcoin's reversal yet, but this does coincide. And it looks okay. Let's take a look at the DXY. What's happening to the dollar right now? So the dollar had a nice little pump up in the last few weeks. It's actually been bouncing ever since we kind of got more of a ceasefire going. And honestly, the dollar, over time, I feel is just going to lose value. They're going to pump it, and they're going to keep adding more to circulation. I just look at this as kind of like a lower high here. We kind of make this kind of falling wedge trap or rising wedge trap. And eventually we break down. So yeah, the dollar looks like it's in some like a nice little small recovery, but then eventually gets rejected by the weekly. If it ever breaks above the weekly 200, man, that means we're in some serious issues and people are like flocking into the dollar. I just don't see that happening again. They've printed too much. I don't see it as a safe haven. I feel like gold would go up more if that happens, and we have seen that. Little bit of talk right now. Some drones were shot down as well with the Strait of Hormuz, and we got to deal with that. That could affect the markets as well. Let's take a look, with that all being said, with U.S. oil. And oil kind of bottomed down there in their 60, took an implosion. And again, you could see it. It had a bit of a double top there. It was bearish. You could kind of see it was done. Let's look at it on the weekly. Getting very oversold on the weekly, but that was the highest it had been in a long. See how overbought it was? It hadn't been in the shady region, I don't think ever. Kind of crazy. That was a big peak for oil. Now below the 200-week moving average, it's kind of like a bear market for oil. And when you're below the weekly 200, man, it did it pretty fast too as well. I see this continuing. You got to catch up to the daily, you know what I mean? So what I see happening for oil is it just kind of dumps a little more. And so show me the charts and I'll show you the news. The charts say that oil kind of starts to, and it stays down here for a while again. So I don't see oil making a huge move to the upside, Let's take a look at the daily just in case something looks different. You're right below the 200. If you get back up above the 200 and you see the 4 hour start to look somewhat bullish, yes, but I don't see that. Look at the 4 hour below the 200, making another descending triangle. It tells me that this whatever this ceasefire is continues. Oil continues to go lower. It almost suggests it can't hit 50. I look at gold now too every once in a while, just kind of double check on it. I see it in this falling wedge that kind of keeps going lower a little bit. A little bit of bull div there on the daily, but not as strong. Probably just sends it back to the top of the channel. But I see gold just kind of doing its thing. And then what I did is I pulled a fib on the bigger time frame. Sorry. And I see and I'm looking for 3,500 on the 618. Maybe a wick down to the 786. And then gold can finally, Chance it holds the 5 right here at 39, but I'm looking more for that wick down into this area. Then eventually it kind of reverses. And over time, I do see it going higher. Like I see it at 7,000, 3, 4, 5 years from now for sure. But it's just going to take its time. That's all. And I want to look at the S&P futures right now too as well. People were extremely bearish. There was some heavy shorting on the S&P. I told you to be careful and to watch that and look for a bounce. Last time we were live, remember I said there's going to be a bounce in the S&P. We bounced beautifully. I'm doing the same thing now. I'm calling this falling wedge bounce to the top of the channel. I'm saying the S&P is going to make a higher low here and bounce. Why? They continue to print money. The biggest people are investing. Tech is continuing. And there's even though the biggest companies moon, that money's now going to go into some other companies. And there's just continuous AI and robotics and nuclear speculation right now that I believe will continue for the next 10 to 12 years. So I see the S&P going sideways and continuing to pump. Looks like there'd be a nice, more speculative rally here coming on the S&P from now all the way until, and I would extend this actually. Yeah, until July. Actually, this says this could happen now. Like, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Like, we're going to get that much liquidity. I feel like it has to be a little more extended. But somewhere it says that, July could be a hot month for the S&P, which is kind of crazy. But we did have a pullback, a bounce here, and then boom. You ignite a fire there. So whatever, the charts are saying things that are illogical, but they do that all the time, saying there's going to be a pump. You look at the NASDAQ, it's going to follow that basically the same way. And today on Friday, we get the bounce in the NASDAQ, and we had really positive news too. Let's go over that. We had data that came in on Thursday. We had core PCE, which is great. Unemployment claims were low. Durable goods were down. Personal income was up. Everything kind of matched. It was a really positive outlook on the market. So that gave way for the S&P and the NASDAQ to get a bit of a bounce. But the charts were already showing that. Now we need to see Bitcoin kind of get some redemption here and get a move. Again, I'll leave you with one idea. You could long Bitcoin with a stop below this wick. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just an idea that I had. You do whatever makes you happy. But that could pan out. We'll check back on that long next week when I come back. Everyone, thank you so much for watching the macro technical analysis video. I hope you had a wonderful time. It really broke it down, showed you what was going on, and gave you some deeper insight on the macro so you're not stuck in the smaller time frames getting emotional. If you like this type of technical analysis and you like the way I call the markets and you see that it actually pans out, come to my live stream. We'll have a blast. I'm there Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. I can't wait to see you there. I also do pre-recorded videos that come out throughout the week and other stuff, so look out for that. Constant entertainment here on this channel, 7 days a week. We never miss. And we've been doing the show for over 2,000 days without one missed show. That's consistency here at CryptoLifer.com. I love you all. Thank you so much. The secret to success is getting started. If you came to the channel, then you're already doing the right thing. Crypto is life.